Hello, everybody, and welcome to Law and Society. If you are innocent, then why would you fight to keep delaying the case against you in a court of law? Today's episode, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump and his followers' reckless disregard for the rule of law. And I want to talk to you about that from the angle of a few pieces of information that put together builds a picture of what Donald Trump is actually doing and how Donald Trump is trampling over the rule of law and exploiting it to its last degree, to the farthest degree that he and his followers can. So if you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. It really helps out the algorithm. Please share. So before I get into today's delay talks about delay and the threats that Donald Trump puts out, I want to let you all know about the news that the Department of Justice recommends Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys extremist militia, receive 33 years in prison for seditious conspiracy and other crimes. Right before I came online, Scott McFarlane sent out this tweet about the different defendants and the sentencing recommendations. I'm sure that he's live tweeting right now. Live Xing right now. So these are the longest recommendations for prison sentences so far. Enrique Tarrio, 33 years. Joe Biggs, 30 years. Zachary Rail, 30 years. Ethan Norton, 27 years. Dom Pizzola, 20 years. And the Justice Department says, defendants understood the stakes and they embraced their role in bringing about a revolution. They unleashed a force on the Capitol that was calculated to exert their political will on elected officials by force and to undo a democratic election. Justice Department says defendants' leadership role was no accident. They viewed themselves as revolutionaries and they believed fully in their cause. From the start of the riot, defendants and their co-conspirators celebrated their achievement. So I've waited a long time to see Enrique Tarrio held accountable for his crimes. And I hope the judge agrees with the DOJ and sentences him to the fully recommended sentence of 33 years. What doesn't seem somewhat, equitable to me personally is Jack Smith choosing not to indict Donald Trump for seditious conspiracy, probably because he couldn't find a strong enough link between Donald Trump and the people like Enrique and Elmer Stewart Rhodes, who were online making plans and conspiring to take down the government that may have been, stochastically influenced by Donald Trump, but it's quite possible that Jack Smith hasn't been able to pin that, or maybe pin that yet, because we know that the investigation is still ongoing. So with that, and keep in mind, I think that Elmer Stewart Rhodes, said that he was going to appeal his 18-year sentence that he's, I think currently paying his, he's currently, sorry, there's a noise. I hope that doesn't get in the way of, I hope it doesn't get in the way. So give me a quick water break. And Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. I am homegrown. There's nothing too much, too fluffy about me. It is just my perspective on law and society and the developments of today. I feel that as an active citizen, it is my obligation, since I am familiar with the law and how the law works somewhat. I feel that it is a civic duty for me to come out and inform people as much as I think my fellow Americans need to know. So thank you for being here, and you are very much appreciated. I want you to know that. If you are watching this, thank you. And please share, like, and subscribe. So, talked about Enrique Tarrio and Elmer Stewart Rhodes, and they're followers of Donald Trump. They planned it based on Donald's sarcastic rhetoric. So, and every single defendant, every single criminal defendant that DOJ has to prosecute costs the DOJ money. And as we have seen, that there are many Republicans, not a majority of Republicans, I don't think, but a good chunk of Republicans in the House of Representatives who have publicly come out and talked about cutting funding for Jack Smith. Can they do it? No. Are they talking about it to pinpoint who these people are, who are subversionists at best and seditionists, if we are to look at it from the perspective of somebody who loves the Constitution? And we see that while this sentencing is happening on one side of Enrique Tarrio and Stewart Rhodes, Elmer Rhodes is there in prison right now, living out his sentence, Donald Trump continues to rile people up. And, the latest one is Abigail Shry, who was arrested for having called Judge Chutkan's office and leave a threatening message. I mean, right before that, we had the threats to Joe Biden by Craig Robertson, who got in a gunfight with the FBI when they came to arrest him for making threats to the threats to kill the president. And I believe that unless the judiciary and prosecutors handle this like any other criminal defendant, and many legal experts have said that, I believe that they need to rein him in once pre-trial processes and discovery processes start. Which brings me to the delay tactics, Donald Trump's delay tactics. Court processes happen. When I interned at the prosecutor's office, on a monthly basis, there's a hearing, and generally, if a case is going to trial, it happens within 3 months to 12 months, and Donald Trump's attorneys filed in Judge Chutkan's court for the January 6th case that Donald Trump wants the case to be set for April of 2026. That's 2 years after the 2024 election. And it's the most absurd thing in the world for anybody who has ever been close to a prosecutor's office, or anybody reasonable who has taken a civics class, knows that there is a public interest in a speedy trial just as much as there is a defendant's interest in a speedy trial. And the idea that Donald Trump's attorneys need 3 years, because it's 2023 now, mind you, more than a year away from the presidential election. Primary season hasn't even started yet. And they want to push it back 3 years so their attorneys can do a page-by-page review of documents. And that's just not how document review works. And Andrew Wiseman, an expert in the field, he's a former prosecutor, says on Twitter, on X, sorry, Trump's attorneys saying that they must have 3 years to do a page-by-page review of docs is not how any civil or criminal lawyer does doc review. It's all computer and search terms. If otherwise, no case would ever be tried. So I'll give you, my personal experience when I was interning at the prosecutor's office, and I was the attending prosecutor under supervision when I went to court every day and filed cases. And every day there would be cases that would come up. And, the facts of the case would be from the charge sheets and then any other evidence provided to the prosecutor. And, if there was a process of discovery that was happening, that would happen with any time between, 3 to 12 months, at the most 12 months. I mean, maybe 18 months, but there's something really, big or convoluted and complicated about it if there's 18 months. I believe I've seen 18 months. But I was only there for 3 months, and I only went to court, every day for 5 days a week for 3 months. So I have a little bit of sort of understanding that, okay, so I'm not even going to see this trial happen. And so I remember these time frames, and I never ever in my life, well, those 3 months that I was there, sorry, ever heard of like somebody setting a 3-year a trial 3 years ahead. I mean, it may have gone 18 months, maybe even 2 years with all the delays in discovery and everything procedures. But to initially, for setting the trial date, a defendant asking for the trial date, first hearing on the 28th of August to be April of 2026, it's like spitting on the rule of law. It's this reckless disregard for the rule of law. And I don't know how else I can put it. So at every given juncture, there is this reckless disregard for the rule of law by Donald Trump and his followers, which sadly happens to be the GOP establishment right now. It's not everybody in the GOP, the Republican Party, but the betrayal of some people and the quietness and complicity with which the leaders just take this. Like, for example, the Georgia state senator who wants Fani Willis in Georgia impeached for indicting Donald Trump. Impeached for what? Impeached for doing her job? And at every juncture you have Kevin McCarthy saying that prosecutions, criminal procedure happening in courts of law is political, when clearly the evidence is so overwhelming and burdening for people who have been inundated with it from day one, that it is an offense against our republic and the rule of law to say that this is political, to say that prosecuting attorneys are deranged, to talk about the recusal of really unfair judges when that judge has been randomly put in your to oversee your case, to handle your case. It's just something that I don't even, it's something that I couldn't possibly even imagine talking to a judge like that, because I know that I would be held in contempt of court, and that would be not good, because I'd probably have to spend a couple of nights in jail. Like, people have this in the back of their mind, that you behave yourself with judges and prosecutors because they have the power to take away your freedom. But clearly, Donald Trump has been doing this for months and months and months. And just since the indictments, which started in March, I believe, there have been 2 incidences where one person has died. Craig Robertson because of the gunfight with the FBI, because he decided to take up the MAGA creed and act out on Donald Trump's words. Same thing happened with Abigail Shry, who was arrested after leaving that threatening message. You know, same thing happened with Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a policeman doing his job while she was trying to break into the restricted area where Congress people were evacuating on January 6th. It's a pattern, and it's a troubling pattern for which the judiciary needs to act, for which prosecutors need to act, because the risk is so great of people getting hurt like Paul Pelosi did. We know that happened, right? That happened like in our recent memory. You know, there has to be accountability for that. And taken together, this is such a betrayal of the people, and it's such a reckless disregard for the rule of law. You know, it is a reckless disregard for society. It's a reckless disregard and disrespect for people. And it is at every angle, it's offensive. You know, Glenn Kirshner said that this is offensive, and how they come out and approach these situations by spinning stories and disinformation is offensive. With racist, misogynist, sexist messages going out from somebody who millions and millions of people follow. And I don't know how these people follow them, but I see your true colors. I see your true colors. And I hope Americans never forget these faces that continue to obstruct the criminal justice system by bringing in and making it political. Remember that the GOP made it political. Look at the facts of the cases. Go to the cases. Go to the indictments and read the indictments. I've posted them many times. Many other these amazing reporters, Scott McFarlane, Kyle Cheney, Ryan Girardi, they are amazing and there are many more, who provide these documents, these indictments. And these indictments, you can't lie in a prosecutor's indictment. You can go to prison for lying in a prosecutor. It's just, it's violation of their oath of office. It's a violation for the court to, there's an evidentiary process. That's why courts have an evidentiary process. That's why there's discovery. That's why there's a judge who judges what can be used in a court of law, what cannot be used in a court of law. There's the hearsay rule, which is a big part of it. And there's all these things that gives credibility to these indictments. So go and read the indictments and just remember that everything from Donald Trump's delays to GOP's political stance on these prosecutions, these are all emblematic of just a nasty disregard for the rule of law. And so, I wanted to come out and say, I've, said this many times about delays and delay being his only game. And it's become more apparent now than it was 2 years ago when he started doing it. And I'm glad that the establishment has caught on to it. So let's keep an eye on him, and let's keep an eye on the courts. Let's keep an eye on these great reporters, and let's keep an eye on the documents coming out of the courts and the prosecutors' offices. And even the defense, even Donald Trump's statements in court. Donald Trump's lawyer statements in court, like this absurd April 2026 trial date for the DC trial. So we'll know what happens with that in 10 days when Judge Tani Chutkan holds a hearing. In the meantime, you know, keep up with the news. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comment box. I'm substantively done, and I thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe.